That's it. I've just turned captioning off.
Hey there, writers and muse daters. I am super excited to be here today with the notable Stephen Oliver. Many of you have met him before, and we're going to be celebrating with him today. Stephen, thank you so much for being here with us once again.
Thanks for the invitation.
So we're here to talk about an exciting event coming up. Hey there, writers and muse daters. I am super excited to be here today. Well, that was a repeat. We're here to talk about an exciting event coming up. But before we do that, let's get to know you, Stephen. For anybody who's not met you yet, you write in many genres. You published in many genres. Tell us about your writing life. So
I'm back again. I write primarily science fiction, dark urban fantasy, horror, and all associated things. Also children's fiction. I've discovered a talent for recently, and I've got a couple of books already out, another one's being processed, and only today I posted an interview which I had 3 weeks ago, and I sent you the link so you can do what you like with it.
Wonderful. That's amazing.
Yeah, and you know, I'm really going great guns at the moment, working on my website, trying to make trailers. I actually don't have much time to write at the moment.
So yes, so this is amazing. A writer who's so busy with his success. But this wasn't always the case for you, Stephen. Where were you back in the day when you and I met?
Oh, nowhere. I had started an epic novel and had, unfortunately, made the mistake of trying to become a plotter. So that was sitting there twiddling its thumbs at 35,000 words. But I did have other ideas. And when I finally met you, I had written a collection of short stories, an anthology. And I first met you, actually. You were looking for advanced readers for your book, Storytelling for Pantsers. Mm-hmm. And so I felt so understood that I asked if you do things like editing. And so I joined the writing gym. But being who I am, I didn't start at the beginning. I jumped in feet first with the editing phase. The writing phase came later with my second book. But then, I was a breech birth and I've been putting my foot in it ever since.
So inquiring minds want to know, right? They see you at the beginning. Many people can relate to this, having written, not having found their best writer yet, not having published, feeling frustrated. You were going through a lot of those same feelings. What made the difference for you? They want to know the secret. How did you get to be this multiple published author? You're being interviewed on the radio. You've done some speaking engagements. How did you get there?
Two things, really. One, the writing gym, which is a complete system, if you like, from getting your idea down on paper all the way through to getting published and going beyond into marketing. The second thing is, within that writing gym, working with you and with your team, where I get one-to-one work. I get what I need, others get exactly what they need, because I needed, for instance, during the query phase, I needed you standing there threatening me with the black whip to go out and actually submit, because I had submitter's block, not writer's block. I've never had writer's block. But submitter's block, yes, and you got me over that. So I don't have any fear of submissions anymore. But at the same time, I know of others who have problems with the middle of the muddle, or the muddle of the middle, shows how muddled I'm got, or they need help with the editing, or whatever their problem is. You know exactly what they need, and you and your team can help them get over that block or through that problem. And that is much better than a lot of the things I've seen where you get the cookie cutter, do this, do this, do this. And I'm going, yeah, no, 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 not me.
Yeah, I mean, talk a little bit about that. I'm curious, what difference does it make to have something custom tailored to you, what you need, who you are as a writer, your genre? Why is that important?
Well, because it gives you a validation. If somebody is coming along and saying, I like what you're doing, let's do this, or yeah, don't put that in, it'll make you less saleable. I think you and I both know which part that was, and so on. But literally, somebody who believes in you and pushes you along, that makes such a difference that, you finally feel somebody believes in you. And up until that point, only 2 people have believed in me, and one of them passed away. That was my father. My mother still believes in me, but they were the only ones who did. And then along came you, and suddenly here I am actually talking to agents who want to put me out into the media, films and or TV or whatever. And I was chatting with someone I know who's actually going to help me a little bit with my marketing on the technical side of the internet, because that's his speciality. And he was saying, I was describing some of my stories, and he said, well, that one sounds like your first comic book. So, I'm inspiring people with ideas. I've got something here, and I've got support from you. And now I've got support from the community, the writing gym, and other people are beginning to come in as well.
So this is amazing. And I would imagine that what you're describing is a huge boost in your personal confidence.
Oh, yeah.
But also, there has to be a confidence in me, in my abilities. You said talking to literary agents. So snitch on me a little bit. Like, what does it actually look like? What is it that Annalisa brings to the table that got you to this level in terms of, talking about media deals, getting on the radio, speaking engagements, publishing book after book after book? What's the secret sauce? People want to know. So snitch on me.
Well, you are deeply embedded in the entire industry. People know you, and you know them, and you know what they want. And that is so important, because I hadn't realized how important it was to know what your agent or the agent you want, what they actually need and what they want. If you don't know that, you can approach them with the best book, but if they're saying, that's not what I touch, then you've lost it. And I'm sure with some of my submissions, that's why I never got to hear back from them. Or actually, the latest one, a couple of weeks ago, I got a thing back from an agent saying, sorry, you don't match what we want. Yeah, I sent it to them 18 months ago. And it was about 15 months after the book was published. So, somebody finally got round to saying, oh, you're not what we want. But the point is, I think very often I've not been what they wanted. And then I found someone who did want me. And I've got a team there who are working for me, as it were. The editor, the publisher, the graphic artist, I don't know who else, publicist. I don't know who is on their team, but that's something I had to learn, is that you cannot do it all on your own. I mean, okay, you occasionally hear about successes with self-publishing, but I should imagine they're probably a tiny fraction of 1%.
Right, because it's really hard to get anybody who doesn't know you to buy your self-published book. Most self-published authors sell fewer than 100 copies.
Mm-hmm.
So this traditional publishing has given you much more leverage, and you've got many books out now at this point.
Yeah. I've also, I said I've got 2 books out. There's another one due out whenever the publisher gets round to that. But I'm also in 20 different anthologies. So, I have a reputation. There's building a reputation out there. And then anyone who goes onto my Amazon author page will see just what I'm involved with and how widespread my contact has been. They'll probably also get rather horrified by how many horror books I'm involved in.
Well, that's your thing. So it makes sense. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, right? Because not everybody's thing is horror, not everybody's thing is romance, whatever. But in the writing gym, you are with authors writing women's fiction or romance or sci-fi or epic fantasy or high fantasy or all these different genres. What's that experience of being with other successful authors across genres?
Well, it's fascinating, actually, when we do one of your salons where we get to write together for a while and listen to other people's work, you begin to realize how creative all these genres are and the people who are writing in them. You give someone 20, even 10 minutes. We had 10 minutes to write a story, and everyone came up with the most amazing story in such a way that you could exactly see the world they were living in. And you could understand, that this was an executive who was handing on the power to the newbie. That one was, transferring of responsibility. Mine was actually a dystopian story. What a surprise. And, every time I've been to a salon, I have been absolutely amazed at what people bring and how anything can be made to be part of a genre. And I'm learning of other genres. I didn't really understand women's fiction, but if someone like Barbara or Jill or whoever comes along, and absolutely amazing, or Ali telling stories about being in the military, absolutely amazing what you can learn just by listening to the other people. And it makes me wonder, maybe I ought to look into those genres. Even if I never write, I'm sure they can influence what I do write.
Sure. And so you're talking about the Writing Gym as a program where we help people to finish novels, traditionally publish, and live the author lifestyle. And one of the bonuses of our Writing Gym program are some retreats. So we just finished an online retreat a couple weekends ago, and we've got our major event of the year, which is writing in England. Don't listen to me, folks, about what this is about. Stephen, spill the beans. What is this Writing Gym in England thing?
You get to spend a week with Annalisa. That's the first thing. The second thing is you will get to spend that same week with other writers. And it's amazing how writers together can boost each other. It's not just being online for a weekend, actually being together, talking about whatever you're doing, listening to the people telling what their latest story is or what their latest problem is. That's very interesting because we can all relate to those problems. And the great thing is we aren't like a weekend retreat. We aren't at home. We are elsewhere where we can go, right, shut out the world. We are here. We are going to write. We are going to work. And very important, we are going to have some of the best food you can imagine.
Yeah, let's talk about that in a minute. But why does it matter? And you're going to snitch on me again. I'm opening myself up here. But why does it matter to be in person with me?
Because even when you're dealing with half a dozen of us, we are each still being individually treated. We do an exercise together and each of us is getting out what we want, but you do these most amazing creative exercises. I presume the wooden blocks are coming out again.
Oh yes, Mike made those special for us. So I make sure we use those every year. I just do different things with them every year. Yeah,
we've done, they're just little blocks about yay big. And each time there's been something completely different done with them. And that really triggers the creativity in a way that it can't be triggered if you're doing something online. Actually being there, the atmosphere itself changes in there. But of course, each time it's different because every time we are different people doing different things. And of course, we also get to do a day trip somewhere. I mean, we followed Coleridge twice now, once to the landscape that inspired him, the second time to actually see where he lived, God, I wouldn't want to live there, I must admit. Well, but he did some of his greatest work there. And then last year, Agatha Christie, who was one of my inspirations. In fact, I've been told I write a lot like her. I'm not quite sure how they came up with that, but anyway. But we learned about her, where she lived, and most especially where she didn't write. That lovely place in Devon, Greenway, where she was just Mrs. M. Nobody else, no writing. That was, her retreat in her way. And this year, I've got no idea where we're going.
I do. So let's talk about, this is our literary excursion, and we do one every year. Why? Why does that matter?
We have to follow in the footsteps of the greats, to see what inspired them. I mean, Agatha Christie said that, she always came back from Greenway, always came back ready to take on the world and write the next story and so on. But if you look at the house, you begin to understand the setting of some of those stories. This lovely grand house, with multiple bedrooms, and there's the salon, and there's the dining room, and the big kitchen behind, and you begin to understand the sort of world that she was moving or moved into, and you can begin to understand how they think. Or Coleridge, when you're standing there by Castle Rock, and just look up at this thing, it's amazing. Or standing above Porlock on the cliffs and listen to Kublai Khan. I mean, that I didn't know. It's I think it was Mary said I looked as though I was about to burst into tears. Actually, it wasn't that. It was the hairs were going up on the back of my neck as I was listening to it, because and I will never be a poet like him, but it inspired me to think poetically. And that's, I think, is the most important, is thinking, the learning to think how the greats thought. It's like your path to Pulitzer, where we study the greats to see what have they done and how are they doing and how have they succeeded. I mean, again, Agatha Christie we did. And you understand a little bit of how they're thinking, and you can incorporate that into your own thoughts and let your, or in my case, let my muse take it up and say and decide what she's going to do with it.
Yeah. All right. So we can tell from your outrageous accent, as they say in Monty Python, clearly you are British. And so you're already in England, and yet you're going to this British experience. Many of the other participants are American. They've never seen a country manor house. Tell us about the location and why it makes a difference as a writing space.
Right. Well, the first thing is, of course, it's an old, well, not so old. I think it's only about 100 and odd years old, but it's a manor house that was built by a rich industrialist as his weekend getaway, as a hunting lodge. So you've got this lovely house in the front with old wooden floors and a huge kitchen and so on. And then round back, you've got, I think it's 4 flats, apartments, in various styles, different places. Some you got to climb up to, some like the one I'm lucky enough to have. It's the furthest away, but I don't have to actually climb anything. And they're just little self-contained apartments where people can withdraw. We get a chance every afternoon to write. That is the perfect place to be. Or sit out on the veranda, or go down by the pond to do your writing. There's lots of beautiful places to go and work and be inspired, and you're surrounded by country. You can hear the birds twittering. If you look out over the hedges, you can see the cattle, browsing. And that is an inspiration, even though in my case, I'll probably bomb them, destroy them, or otherwise get rid of them. But they are beautiful places, and they can get the aesthetic going in your brain.
Yeah. And so let's go back to the food and just the experience of living a manor house life. Pull back the curtain and tell us what that looks like.
Right. Well, the first thing is you get 3 meals a day, which is really good. Things like poached eggs for breakfast with sweet chili sauce, or dinner curry, a freshly made curry, or a vegetable tart for lunch, or cheese and pickles, but it's all homemade. None of that's come out of a packet. I mean, the first time we were there, we had scones, and I remember the most amazing jam made out of heather flowers. And it was just beautiful. And she makes all her own, and she can tell you, oh, the asparagus came from so-and-so's farm, it's 3 miles away. Or the eggs have come just around the corner, that's Mrs. So-and-so, she delivers us fresh eggs every day, or whatever. Local, good English food, and don't let anyone say the English cannot cook. They can cook beautifully, but it's not the same as you will get on the continent. And the French and Italian, they go completely differently. This is good, plain, honest English cooking, which is delicious.
That's really funny that you mentioned that, right? Because I mean, we'll put it out there, elephant in the room, the Brits don't have a reputation for amazing food in general. And so I sent out an email recently that talked about the quality of the food, and some troll kind of a person sent me this response. It was like, ha ha ha, good British food, right? So what's refute that point, Stephen? What do you have to say to this guy?
I can't say that because I will probably get us banned off Facebook for the next 3 years. English cooking is different. One of the biggest problems that we had was the 100 Years' War. We couldn't get herbs and spices for 100 years. So they had to go in a different direction. If you want a really good, say, pie, my brother-in-law makes what's called a hunter's pie, which has got pork and beef and lamb and whatever animal you can get hold of. He makes this most amazing pie. And until you've eaten a good pork pie or something like that, you will never understand how good English cooking can be. It's plain, it's simple, and it doesn't play games. And
right. Well, and in the case of the retreat, it's all fresh.
That's what I was saying. Yes, it's fresh. Literally, you know, Mrs. So-and-so brought the eggs this morning that we're having for breakfast. Okay, you know, can't get much fresher than that, and it's healthy. No, there's it's not been processed. It's been brought in, cooked, prepared, done. No, nothing out of a can. Well, I don't think there's much out of a can. Well, I don't know. Maybe she uses some condensed milk when she makes her ice cream, which is another story.
I wanted to lick that bowl. Yeah.
They make she does this most amazing cooking, and you know, and Mike does the you know, looks after the rest of it. And tea and coffee.
And the grilled mutton that Mike made that one year.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. Most people don't do mutton. They think it's too old. Mutton is the most amazing. For anyone who doesn't know, mutton is a sheep that's over 2 years old.
I just thought it was sheep. So you have taught me something new.
Yeah, it's actually 3. You've got lamb up to a year to 2 years is called hogget, and then after that it's mutton. And as they grow older, the flavor gets stronger and more powerful and more refined.
Well, this is really good news. So on Final Jeopardy, when I answer what is hogget, I will have Stephen Oliver to thank for my victory. So we've got one spot at this point left in this retreat.
Yay.
What do you have to say to that one person out there who can have this spot? You know, they can get on the phone with me today. What do you want to tell them?
What's holding you back? Why don't you want to invest in yourself? Because that was what really pushed me. I'd already got the one book I was working with, but at the retreat, you said to me, you need to write another book. And we took 2 of my short stories and I turned it into an entire episodic novel that's published. If you want someone to come and help you and sit down with you and say, look, I think you need this. I think you could do that. And I think you will be brilliant doing this. And they are sitting there face to face with you where they can reach out and pat you on the hand and say, you're going to make it, don't worry. Then that's the thing you need to do. But are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to take the time and money to invest in yourself if you want to be a writer? Because as somebody said, if you are trying to write and you sit down and write, you're a writer. If you're waiting for inspiration, you're not a writer, you're a waiter.
Yes, I like it. And I think that that's a really good place for us to wrap up, unless you have any parting words for that one person to fill that spot.
Coming to the writing gym, joining the community, because we didn't even talk about the community that's supporting us, but doing that was the best decision I ever made as a writer.
Wow. Well, thank you, Stephen. You're such a valuable part of our community. I'm thrilled to see you in a number of weeks now in England. We've got our pre-retreat meeting coming up tomorrow, where we'll all meet. And I think that's an important part of community, right? It's not as if you all come and nobody knows anybody and you have that awkward, right? We spend a lot of time with each other before we go so that we can just hit the ground running. We're already friends. We've already written together. We've got an idea of who's going to be there with us. And I think that's an important part of the way that we do things here.
Yeah, it's so important.
Well, thank you for being here, and I can't wait to see you in person. And thanks for celebrating with us and really sharing your journey, how you got there, and the amazing work that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
So we will wish everyone, until next time, happy writing.
Happy writing.